This is the Great Alaska Hunting Podcast. I'm Dalton Gray.
And I'm Ryan Humphreys.
Broadcasting from our hometown of Fairbanks, Alaska. This show is brought to you by Stealthy Hunter. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Great Alaska Hunting Podcast, everybody. I'm Dalton.
I'm Mo.
Good to have everybody back this week for the episode. And we've got a couple of interesting stories to tell this week, talking about the upcoming springtime. I know we were just poking fun and sarcasm the other week about people anticipating spring a little bit too much, but
I guess we've got the bug.
Ironically enough, we got we got a bunch of messages from people saying, well, we want to hear about bear baiting and we want to hear some stories, even if you're not going to talk about tactics and setup and all that stuff. So we said, okay, we can do an episode on stories. It is getting nice and warm out.
Yes, it is.
It's been, yesterday it was about 39 degrees.
Yeah, it was warm yesterday.
Super
pretty warm today, too.
Yeah. The roads are all covered in water. It's almost puddle season.
Yeah. Parking lot at work. It's got a nice angle on it. So this time of year, if you leave your park truck up against the building, it might, by the end of the day, be out in the middle of the parking lot.
Have you had that happen?
Yeah, actually, I had it happen last year.
Oh, same parking lot.
Same parking lot. And then this year, I haven't happened to me yet, but my boss said when he got back, he left his truck there, was sitting in the middle of the parking lot.
Oh, really?
Which means it slid like 10, 15 feet. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. What you been up to lately? Anything exciting?
Work.
Yeah.
Looking at the warm weather, thinking about bear baiting, which is part of the reason we're talking about bear baiting today.
Mm-hmm.
I was at work talking to some people in the office about bear baiting.
It's kind of on the brain right now.
And it is. I was showing him pictures of bears and guns, and he's like, yeah, I want to get a 45-70. I've always wanted to kill a bear with a 45-70. Or no, he has one. He has a Henry.
Oh, it does. Okay.
And he goes, yeah, I've always wanted to kill a bear with that. I was like, okay, here's one I killed. Yeah, I killed one with 30-32. He's like, no, he hasn't killed a bear yet, and so he was all.
Yeah, there's some pretty cool things to be said about lever
And then I got a
guns.
text quietly from the office manager to be quiet and stop distracting people.
About bear baiting?
About anything, because I was talking to the other guy about video games or something stupid just because I was bored. And so while I'm working, I'm talking to them, not realizing, I guess, that they weren't working.
Just carrying on the conversation.
Apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You said you had a joke you wanted to tell on here.
Well, I said I had a joke, and you forced me to tell it on here, so.
No, that's not how that went down.
All right. Well, it's actually relating to our some new stuff we got in the studio here. So there was this moth. This moth goes into a podiatrist's office, and the nurse says, "Hey, may I help you?" And he says, "Yeah, my knee's really hurting bad." And she said, "Okay, well, interesting, but I'll see if the doctor can see you." And doctor sticks his head out, and she says, "Hey, there's a moth here. It says his knee hurts." And the doctor says, "Oh, I'll see you. Nobody else here right now." So the moth walks in, sits down with the doctor, and starts explaining how bad his knee hurts, and it's just joint, it's kind of swelling and all this kind of stuff. And the doctor says, "So let me tell you, your knee hurts, but why'd you come into the podiatrist's office?" And the moth says, "Well, the light was on." That's great, huh? Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
So we got new lights in the studio here.
Yeah, it's a nice little segue there for the new lights.
Yeah, perfect. It's an old Norm Macdonald joke.
That's funny.
What do they call it? The Shaggy Dog story?
I don't think I've heard much
Isn't
about
it-
McDonald.
Well, Shaggy Dog story, I think the idea is, maybe totally wrong here, but I'm pretty sure the idea is you tell like this long like story
Mhm.
that's involved for like a dad joke level punchline.
Yeah, I tell a couple of those.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah.
Any client I've ever guided will attest that I have some pretty dad level jokes.
So there was these two fish.
You're going to tell another one.
There's these two fish in a tank.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one looked to the other and said, "Do you know how to drive this thing?"
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, we're floating right there. Yeah. Well, anyway.
Yeah, these are jokes that you might hear on your local radio station.
Or if you ask Google to tell you a joke.
Yeah,
I don't think you're going to get the moth one on the
Yeah,
radio or
yeah.
from Google. That one's pretty high quality there.
That's a good one.
I thought so.
Well done.
Yeah, I'm surprised I remembered. I usually can't remember a good joke when I hear it.
Well, enough with the comedy hour.
Mm.
I had an interesting run-in with some scope rings
You did.
yesterday. I was trying to swap a scope over from one rifle to the other in anticipation of spring bear coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Need to take that rifle to the range and go do some shooting. And in the process, I snapped off a very important component
Yeah, you showed me that.
of that ring.
You called me yesterday asking me about it.
Well, yeah.
Talking to me about it.
Yeah. I called you for about a different thing, and then I was so boiled over with frustration.
Yes.
And I eventually, as the young people would call it nowadays, I rage quit the project, which is where you just leave it as it stands and walk out of the room.
Nowadays that called it that?
That's what they say.
Another one of those weird things you hear going around. You try to use it and you look dumb.
Yeah, the first time I ever heard it was I was watching a hockey game, and my team was losing pretty awfully. And I just turned it off out of frustration. I said, nope, I'm not even going to bother watching the rest of this stupid game. And my buddy laughed. He said, you just rage quit the TV.
Interesting.
And I said, what does that mean? Then he explained it all to me.
Because I'm familiar with like the raging at a video game,
Mm-hmm.
right? Destroying your computer because you're so mad at the video
Throw
game.
Throw your control across the room.
Yeah. But I never heard the rage quit thing. Anyway, we can, You learn something new every day. Pretty whack.
That one's about 25 years late.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Rad.
There you go. That's an old one.
Yeah.
That's come back, though.
Mm-hmm. Apparently so. Anyway, so I was, these rings are on a scope that is sized like no other as far as my other scopes go. It's a 34 millimeter main tube.
I think I have a 34 mil.
And so I bought 34 millimeter rings last fall. It would have been September or October. And I put that scope in those rings and then put them on a Picatinny rail on my 7 millimeter to take deer hunting. And it was that 1:8 Trijicon scope.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, when I'm done with it, I have some Hawkeye adapters that go on my 375 Ruger.
Mm-hmm.
Burris makes those. And they are a Weaver adapter for the Ruger receiver. And for those that don't know, Ruger Hawkeye actions have a proprietary receiver mounting system that's only compatible with a certain type of a clamp ring. Well, I put these adapters on there so that I could put on 34 millimeter rings, because Ruger or anybody else doesn't make direct mounts to the Ruger receiver in 34 millimeter, at least not that I can find. And if somebody out there is listening to this and you know of them, then shoot me a link, because I haven't been able to find them. Neither of us have.
No.
So anyway, I took those rings, I just loosened the little cross bolt piece that, you're supposed to torque down to 65 inch-pounds on those rings. And it's a 1/2 inch socket. So I took them off of there with my torque wrench. They both came off just fine. And I set the scope, still mounted in the rings, onto my Ruger Action with those little adapters for the Weaver mounts. Set them in there and loosely started to just barely even tension the cross bolts through that adapter plate. And I was mainly just going to put it on there lightly and then check to see if the eye relief was still good on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I barely even turned the screw head on that cross bolt, and the little clamp piece right inside of the 1/2 inch head just snapped right off. So obviously it had already been broken while it was on my 7 mag.
Yeah, broken and compromised.
And so I don't know if that happened when I fell on it, because I had a couple of decent falls coming off the mountain deer hunting at one point. It was slick as could be, and I was hiking in hip boots, and I took a few falls. It was pretty slick, which is nothing new for hunting southeast in deer season. But, the gun never showed any signs of losing zero or anything.
But like I said, that's what I mean. It may have been compromised and kind of held together with the tension that it was under or something.
Yeah. So I contacted the ring company this morning via email, and within about 5 minutes, they had a new set on the way.
That was who?
That was Warren. Yep.
Well, so shout out to Warren.
Good customer service. It's a bummer their product broke in that situation, but after I saw that the one of them had snapped, I took the other one that hadn't broken. You know, I obviously took the scope out of the rings at this point because I knew I wasn't going to be able to mount it at that point. And I took the remaining good ring and I torqued that side screw down to 65 inch-pounds probably 10 or 15 times. Tightened it, loosened it, tightened it, loosened it, thinking, okay, if this is a bad product, then it's going to break. And it didn't. So I'm thinking that it was either just a bad piece of hardware, or I fell on it, or a rock impacted that particular section of it, and it just was a little bit too much. So I don't know. I'm not sure if I'll put that scope back on there with all of the screws that it requires to put that system on that gun. Plus, it makes that scope sit high.
Right.
And it messes with your cheek weld. So I can either put a cheek weld riser on it, but I don't know that I want to do that on that gun. So I might just put it on a different gun and leave it there. Options, right?
Whatever you want to do, man. Yeah. Your scope, your guns.
I've never had any issues with tallies.
No, I've never had. Gotta stop and think for a minute.
Have you ever had any scope ring issues?
I don't think I've ever had any scope ring issues.
Yeah.
With all the different weird stuff I've run Weaver rings.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some tallies. I've run some Warren. I've got some American Defense Manufacturing. I've got American Defense Manufacturing mount.
Oh, is that on the 6 arc?
Yeah, that's where it's at right there.
Yeah.
Their stuff is...
The quick release?
Yeah. Their stuff is very high quality.
Is that a one-piece mount?
Made in USA. Yes.
It is. Yeah, that's pretty nice.
One-piece mount with the Ford cantilever, which you want for an AR most of the time. Yeah.
That's pretty nice.
It's very nice. $250? $260?
Yeah, those Warren rings, those Warren 34 millimeter rings were $170.
Yeah. I don't know, not that they'd work for your application. I think American Defense Manufacturing might make some quick release rings too. Like
there's a guy in Big Lake up here, Alaska Arms.
Yeah, you're telling me about him.
He was recently on Joseph Von Benedict's podcast that I saw. But Alaska Arms, that guy, you know, I've talked to him before about other questions, but he makes a bunch of hardware and parts for the Ruger 375s and 416s and whatnot for you know the guide rifle type applications. And he makes rings and he makes quick detach rings. And from what I've heard, they are the best QD rings that are out there.
Interesting.
Guns. I thought about buying some at one point, but I even called him yesterday when I encountered this issue, and I said, hey, do you make 34 millimeter rings? And he said, no, I don't.
He makes 30, though?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he makes 1 inch and 30.
Yeah.
You
know why I'm saying
I do.
I have one of those rifles without a scope on it. I'm going to get a 30 mil scope for it, so.
There you go. Well, bear baiting.
Yeah.
Comes around every year on what day?
Always later than we hope.
Well, but it opens officially
right
on tax day.
Right.
We prefer to just forget about the tax day part.
Well, I'm getting money back at this point. So.
And make it bear baiting day. Even though neither of us have... Well, have we ever been out on April 15th? No. We've been out in the snow early.
We've been out in the snow too early before.
Yeah, I think even that was May though.
I don't know that I've ever been out in April. There was one time I may have been out in April with my dad when I was young. He was trying to set one up ahead of time on snow machines to go back and ride into. And then they shut the trail down after the snow thawed. It was wonderful. Yeah.
Bummer.
But we went in on snow machines and set that one, so that may have been. Early on.
And that wasn't going to be something, and this is knowing your dad, he was not going to go back in there in 2 weeks and try to hunt.
Oh, snow?
Yeah.
No, it was a ton of stinking bait with the idea of the bears will be hitting it once the snow's gone, right? Because it was warm really early. It just wasn't like now, kind of.
Right.
But just trying to get everything ready for all the bears to be there.
Yeah, so you don't have to make as many
And it's
trips.
a lot less work to haul a bunch of stuff in on a snow machine with a sled than it is to run it on a four-wheeler. So.
Right. Just trying to save himself
especially
some
on
work.
That trail. Oof, that was my inauguration into muddy trails and bear baiting.
Is that the one down by the river?
No, before that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Similar area, but Um,
Out on that road.
yeah, and that was one of the first ones that was actually the first bait I ever went to with my dad and
Oh, was it really?
watched him kill a bear. Yeah.
How old would you have been then?
7.
You shot your first bear when?
12, I think.
So you've been kind of dragging you along for
For a few years. Yeah. He'd been trying to get me to kill a bear at that point, I think, for like 3 years. Yeah. Once I killed one.
Nice. So you grew up bear baiting.
Yeah.
This is more of just like a
This is just
bear
routine.
baiting story hour.
Yeah.
So you've been bear baiting most of your life with your dad.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I came back to live, when I was a teenager, you and I just kind of formed a inseparable bond.
It was more separable at times than others.
I was trying to think of a good remark there, but that was better. Yeah, there were some moments where, we went separate ways. But hey, the band is back together now.
We came back, we cried, we hugged.
No, I'm pretty sure that's never happened.
No?
No, at least not at the same time.
Right. Hey.
Oh, boy. Yeah, so you shot your first bear at 12. I didn't shoot my first bear. Well, when I moved back, I was
16.
15. Yeah, I think 15.
I think you're 16.
15, 16, somewhere in there. Maybe 16. Anyway, but, I'd never bear hunted before. I hadn't ever shot any big game up here. And, it was almost instantly that you and I started bear baiting together.
Yeah.
And we didn't have...
Within a year, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, because we came...
It was within a year of getting our driver's licenses and stuff.
Well, so what happened was I came back in June that year. And so baiting season was, over by the time I had any ability to get out and do anything. And obviously didn't have a vehicle or anything like that yet. And then the following spring, we started baiting right away. And you and I had almost no luck at the one bait that we first set up. I mean, there was...
Which bait was that?
The close one.
Close one? Was it that the first one we did alone?
Mm-hmm. You want to just beep something out and I can just say it so it'll ring your bell?
No, I know which one the close one was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've run it again since and had grizzlies on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
exactly.
One.
Yeah.
That first spot that we tried.
No, I was just thinking like if there was anything before that, but I don't.
No.
And then and other than that, at that point, after that, was it the next year we ran a bunch further out and had tons of grizzlies with some intermediate black bears throughout those next couple of years.
Yeah, that was the next couple of years. Yep.
Lots of learning.
We tried that hard. But that first year, you and I didn't have a single bear come into that first bait.
No. Hadn't you seen one at one point that year?
I saw one on the trail.
Yeah.
When we were taking a buddy of ours in there.
Next to some water or
but
something.
It never came into the bait.
Well, we didn't have good scent on that bait.
Yeah.
That was, I think, our biggest mistake.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, but by the end of that season, your dad had a couple of baits that he had been running for a long time, and your dad had bears.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said that we could go out at the last, I think it was the last weekend of season.
It was the last week or two, yeah.
And he said, you guys can come out and hunt one of my baits. And so you and I and a buddy of ours.
Right. I'd been running those baits, particular baits, with my dad before you and I were baiting together and even during that season.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I forgot.
I'd been out there before.
Yeah.
I think I'd hunted that by myself, probably with you at times, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then your dad, I think your dad had killed a couple of bears at the other spot.
He maybe even killed them there, too.
With his buddies. Yeah. And then, he basically said, if you guys want to come hunt it and kill a bear, then you definitely can. Because, I remember him telling me this when we were out there at a shop one day. He said, yeah, you guys have been working really hard. I want to see you get rewarded for it. And I thought, man, that's pretty cool. So we went out to his bait, hunted it. I think it was the first night that we even sat there.
It probably was.
With all three of us.
Yeah, we had our other buddy with us then.
And that color phase bear came in and you had your bow.
Yeah.
And
stuck it real well.
Yeah, and he didn't go 20 feet.
Yeah, it wasn't very far at all.
And died right next to the bait.
Mm-hmm.
And that was your first one with a bow. That was your first bear kill with a bow.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, that was that old bow of your dad's.
Yeah, I killed a few bears with that.
Mm-hmm. And then the next day, that night, we took that bear home.
That's right,
We gutted it, put it on the four-wheeler. all three of us finagled one another on the four-wheeler with a bear strapped to it.
It was a fairly small bear. It was
Yeah.
around 5 foot.
And we plowed our way back to the truck with three of us on the wheeler, one on each side and then
Yeah.
one driving, and a bear and all of our stuff. Got back to the truck, took the bear home. I think we had just gutted it at the time.
I think we had just gutted it.
And then we took it back to your dad's, spread out a huge blue tarp in the front yard, and your dad showed us all how to skin bear. That was the first time I'd ever seen a bear skinned out in person before. And then he said to me that night, he said, "Hey, I'm going out to my other baits for the last time this season. Do you want to shoot a bear?"
Right.
And I said, "Well, absolutely." He goes, "Okay, drive home, get your stuff. We're camping for the weekend. Bring your bow, and I'll go try to get you a bear." And so I went out with your dad.
Mhm.
The following morning, I slept most of the drive because I was dog tired from being laid up up late the previous night. You'd killed your bear, and I was all hyped up. And at the time, I was still shooting a recurve
Mhm.
exclusively. I don't think I'd even ever fired a compound before.
I think you'd fired mine once.
I don't think it was until after that
You
season.
know?
Yeah, I don't
Hmm.
think so. At any rate,
Mm-hmm.
I had nothing to do with any compounds. You know, in my mind, I was still a purist.
You were superior. So you thought.
I thought I was better at the time. And anyway, I had an old Bob Lee recurve that my dad still has. I still shoot it from time to time. And I took that bow out with your dad that weekend, the last weekend of season.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I went and cleaned up some baits and had some run-ins with some grizzly bears. And
Real fun on that bait.
man, that was a blast. And that was the first and last time I ever went to a bear bait without a rifle. All I had with me was a handgun.
You still carry a rifle all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Even if I have a bow, I always
Even if
bring
you
a rifle.
pretty much have only
Mm-hmm.
black bear,
I
really?
always bring a rifle.
Interesting.
You never know.
Yeah. Well, you've got the brown bear in the back. Brown bear activity in the back of your head too from the spring.
Yeah.
That probably affects you a little bit.
Well, and I've had enough black bears act like tough guys
Yeah.
that I've thought, I'd really rather have a rifle in my hands. If I actually have to stop one, I'd rather just have
I
a
agree,
rifle.
But
So even if that's, like my short-barreled 375 Ruger, or
mhm.
I remember not long after I started, I think it was after that year that I started carrying my Tikka 30-06, because that was the first rifle that I bought. That was my first rifle, was 30-06.
Mhm.
And I would carry like a 200 or a 220 grain round nose. I think it was a 220 grain round nose from Federal. And I just thought, this is better than a handgun. And it is.
Mm-hmm.
Never shot a bear with that, but I just felt more comfortable with it. And then, switching to a 375 years later, and then now a 45-70 with a 16-inch barrel was pretty handy at a bear bait. Anyway, long story short is I shot my first black bear. That was a color phase with that recurve that very next night after you did.
That's right. Yeah.
And then 3 hours later, after your dad and I cleaned my bear, packed it out to camp, hung it, put it in the shade, walked back into the stand, and 3 hours after I'd shot my bear, he shot another color phase bear with his bow.
Those were some hopping baits in the day.
Yeah, that was boy band type stuff. it was going on.
Yeah.
But that was my initiation into bear baiting, was 3 dead bears
Fast and
in
Furious.
24 hours. Yeah. I mean, it was nothing but skin. And
after a lot of work and little results.
Yeah, after 2 months of hard work.
But it paid off.
Yeah. And then from then on.
Right. And then the next year, did either one of us kill something? Well, I killed one the next year on that same bait.
So that first year would have been 16.
Yeah.
And then the following year, 2017, I shot a few. 18, I didn't shoot any. 19, 20, I shot I've shot at least one every year, with the exception of 18, I think.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 18 was...
Man, I've kind of...
18, I was doing a lot by myself, and I had some problems. Remember, I had that, we'll just call them a local, walked into my bait site and I caught him on trail camera dumping bleach all over my bear bait.
I think I remember something. That's
Somebody
was that when we were baiting with?
Mm-mm.
No.
I had set that one up solo.
Okay.
I don't think you had ever even been there in that one with me.
I probably hadn't. No.
I don't think anybody else had. Maybe I took one of my brothers in there at one point, but I had that problem with somebody who apparently liked to
Okay. Now
like
I'm
to walk
remembering.
that trail for whatever reason. I don't know why they'd be walking that trail, but they had a dog with them, and maybe their dog found the bear bait first, and they walked in there to get their dog, and they found it. There was bears on it. I was going to shoot one, but it just never turned out. And when I came in there in the middle of June and noticed that something was off, I'm surprised they didn't cut my tree stands down. I was pretty surprised about that.
Right.
But when I saw that they had dumped bleach all over it, I just packed up shop and left. So I didn't kill a bear that year, and that was the only one that I really had good activity on.
18. So the first year when I killed that first bear, and you killed your first. Well, I'm not my first bear, but the first one with the bow.
Yeah.
And you killed your first bear. That was 16 or 17.
That was 16.
Okay. And then, so 17, I shot another bear on that same bait, that big chocolate, right at the end of the season. So had you got one that year already then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had shot a couple with a rifle.
Okay. On your own baits or whatever.
That was with our buddy at the time.
Okay. That's right. And then the next year, we baited together some, not as much.
Yeah.
And I shot one solo towards the end of the season.
That was that big
with my
sow.
bow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That big sow on that bait that I pretty much ended up doing, for the most part, I ended up doing that one by myself.
Yeah. That's the one that I lost my handgun on.
And found.
Yeah, and found in the same night.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a.
You want to tell that story?
Well, as I recall, we were busting brush with the wheelers and with a wheeler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with a wheeler, and we had gotten down to a spot and we were hiking in to look for where to put a bait, and you had taken your gun off at some point.
We had gotten back.
You were wearing that on a belt or on a chest?
It was on a belt. We had gotten back up to the wheelers,
right?
And we were so covered in sweat, and the mosquitoes were just swarming us.
Right.
And so I took my belt off for some reason, and I
related to something else.
Yeah,
probably,
I was taking off a shirt or something, and I wanted to change something, and so I took my belt off with my pistol attached to it, and I set it on the front rack of the wheeler.
Yep.
And then the bugs got so bad, and we were both just frantically swatting bugs.
We jumped on the wheeler, drove away.
Jumped on the wheeler, backed up, and never looked back, and just raced back to the truck.
Got back to the truck, and you didn't have your gun.
And we were loading stuff in the side of the truck, and went, I don't have my pistol. So you said, okay. Jumped back on the trailer, unloaded the wheeler. We jumped on there, raced back up there, and man, we had to have stomped around on that willow pad.
But eventually found it like about where the problem was we didn't had anything marked, and so
well, right, and it was all that springy willow brush,
like 6 foot tall,
that had been run over and matted down, and that pistol had fallen.
And half of it pops back up.
Yeah,
and
that pistol had fallen through the willow bushes.
Yeah,
and was on the dirt underneath like a foot and a half of blown over willows.
And there's like acres of those willows and stuff.
Yeah.
And you just happened to look down at the exact right spot and caught it, and there it was. And
at that point, that might have been one of the happiest moments of my life.
It seems like that may have kind of been you didn't come out with me much more that season, like once or twice more. I ended up putting that bait in. We didn't get the bait in that night. We scouted a bunch. It was late. We had to get to work.
Right.
Well, I ended up moving the bait even from that location to a better one.
Well, remember, that was 18, so I was running the other bait not too far from there by myself.
Right. But between everything, I ended up hunting that one. You came in with me on once more, maybe.
Yeah. Well, and I think you were driving pilot car a lot more that year, too, and your schedule was a bit more
and then the next night after the one time you hunted with me, I shot a bear.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I came in there
because you were because I think I had told you, like, because you were like, I got to get out of here. We got to leave. And I'm like, fine, don't come with me tomorrow night. I was a little irritated.
Yeah, I think I wanted to leave by like 10:30 or something.
Something stupid.
Yeah. Something that I never do nowadays.
And anyway, anyway, and that was that bear. That was fun. That was my first bear killed by myself. Nice size, 6 foot sow, or close to it. Yeah.
She was a fat sow too.
Fat, big head.
Super deep chested too.
Yeah. And then I didn't kill bears after that. I don't know if I even baited. I don't think I baited the next year. If
that would have been 19. Yeah, I don't know if you did either. I
I
don't
didn't
know.
bait for 2 or 3 years. Um, it may not have been that long ago. There may have been a year. There may have been a year or two between all the stuff we're talking about where things happened or didn't happen. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember every
It's all,
detail.
but I didn't bait for 2 or 3 years, and then I got back into baiting, baited for 2 or 3 years, and then had success last year. Finally found some good spots and stuff, and
Yeah, well, and you were busy with building your house
yeah,
and
building my
everything
house
else,
and I got married and
yeah,
yeah, all that kind of stuff.
having kids and
Yeah. That's what I told my wife though. Since she had known me before we got married, I hadn't bear baited
oh yeah,
for 2 or 3 years, and I told her like, listen, I've gone this long not bear baiting, trying to get this house finished. After we get married, I'm gonna be bear. So you're not gonna see me a whole lot in the spring. and then that spring I put in one bait, didn't push too hard. Put in one bait, nothing but grizzlies. Couldn't shoot them there. So she actually came with me that year, helped me set it up. She sat it when the grizzlies came in. That was a really cool experience for her. She liked that a lot.
Yeah.
And then I might be able to get her to go with me a little bit this spring. We'll see. But just with kids and stuff. And then the next year, I put in 2. I had a guy running with me trying to do camera stuff, and had grizzlies on one bait that I could shoot them on. And they just never came in while I was there. And then I had another bait that I had a black bear hit on and off and grizzly once, and tried hunting it, never came in while I was there. That black bear hit right towards the end of the season. And then the next year I decided to go ahead and bait that one again. And then I just tried, which was last year, and then I just scouted a bunch looking for other spots and even threw in one at one spot where I had nothing but grizzlies where I couldn't shoot them. But then that bait, second year, paid off big time.
Yep.
Big time.
Literally big.
7'2", 4, something like that. I don't remember exactly.
Over 7.
Over 7, bigger than yours.
Yeah. Yeah, it was bigger than mine last year.
And I shot it with a 30-30.
Yep.
And it was boom, pop down. I mean, he just literally just rolled on his side, kicked, and died. It kind of
just couldn't handle it.
Apparently. I don't know. It was crazy. It was a big bear.
Yeah. I think you're going to go back to bow hunting this year, or are you going to shoot them with different rifles now?
That's a hard one.
Isn't it?
That's a hard one. I want to bow hunt more. Actually, I was bow hunting into there because I still had a few weeks left of the season after that one and the bear hitting the bait, so I kept hunting it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a bow at that point. I kind of wished I'd shot that bear with the bow because it would have made Pope and Young.
Yeah.
It was 19.5/8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pope and
skull,
Young is
19, right? Pope and Young's 19.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Should do my research so I'm ready for the show.
Oh boy.
But
off the cuff.
Yeah.
You know what? It might be 19 might be Boone and Crockett. I'm gonna check it out right now.
I thought Boone and Crockett was 20.
I thought it was 2. It sounded right at first, but now I'm second guessing.
Yeah.
Pope and Young.
Oh,
I can spell things right.
Point I had a membership with SCI. I could look at their record books, which was very interesting. But I haven't.
Oh, you don't have that anymore?
No, it's a yearly membership. I just haven't kept up on it.
So
I was going to get that one record size wolf that I shot. That was a gold SCI wolf, and I never entered it, which I still could, I guess, but I just never did. And I probably have to get it scored again.
Pope and Young, point score requirements and world records. Grizzly bear, 19. Black bear, 18.
Oh,
Alaska
18.
brown bear, 20? Really? How's that possible?
What, you think that's small?
Dude, if I had somebody shoot a 20-inch skull brown bear, it would be a 4-year-old, if even that.
I don't know, man. I don't make the rules.
20 inches is tiny for a brown bear.
It is bow, right?
Because Boone and Crockett minimum for brown bear is 27.
Really?
Yeah. 28 is all time.
Interesting that it's that small. It may just because not that many guys do it with bow.
And that might not be totally accurate.
But 18 or 19 was the Pope and Young. I remember that for black bear.
Mm-hmm.
But it says 18.
Yeah, it says 18, which in that case I've killed one, I think, that makes 19, which is this one here on the desk. This is the one that I shot last year. We decided to throw a prop on.
You should get it scored and get it entered. No,
I don't feel like doing that.
It would be cool to have.
Yeah, I agree, but for me, knowing that it's big enough is cool enough, I guess.
Yeah, you can say on the podcast that you've got a Pope and Young black bear.
No, it doesn't really matter to me.
Well, I just mean you can say that now. It's a Pope and Young black bear.
I believe it made 19.
I don't remember.
I don't remember exactly. But this one I shot last year with a bow, and it was 7 foot squared. So, for whatever that's worth. But squaring a bear, for those that aren't familiar with the concept, is you take the skinned out, fleshed hide and lay it down and then pull it to its natural tension, long ways and width.
Right.
Don't stretch it one way or the other. And then you measure it nose to tail and then tip of claw to tip of claw and add them together and then divide by 2. And that's your squared measurement. So that's like your average overall size of the bear. And that's a pretty standardized way. Like in the lower 48, everybody seems to measure black bear sizes by weight. I wouldn't have the slightest clue on what a bear weighs up here for the most part.
Right. Anything within anywhere near accuracy, within 100 pounds maybe, but
yeah. I mean, I know this one was heavy.
Yeah.
and when I got out of the stand with my wife after I'd shot this thing and it had died and it had kind of done the chicken in a weird way. And for those that, again, don't know, doing the chicken is when after they're dying, they kind of start to go into convulsions. And this one, when it did the chicken, it wedged itself underneath a fallen birch tree next to the bait. And so it was kind of balled up in a little hole, and I couldn't quite tell how big it was. I knew it was a big bear because I'd seen it on the camera, and then seeing it when it walked in, I knew it was big. When I got out of the stand, I thought, man, that kind of looks small a little bit, but it was just crunched in that little hole. And I grabbed the front foot, and it was hard to drag it out of there.
That's when you know it's
really hard.
That's when you really like you can sense that a bear's big, but you've got at least for me, I've got that part inside me just kind of downplaying it, so you don't get too excited.
Right.
Because we've all shot a 5-foot bear thinking it was huge when we were young.
Yeah.
Walked up to it and been like,
that's it?
Knocked the air out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, but.
Inflated the thing.
Yeah, but then when you shoot a bear and you're like, oh yeah, he's big, and you get down there and you go to grab it and roll it over and you're like, you have to stop and try again.
You're like, okay, this one's actually big.
Yeah. The more you work on it, and you're like, wait, the one I shot last was big, and this one's a lot bigger than that one.
Yeah. But my wife and I each grabbed a back leg of this bear once I worked it free, and we drug it, I don't know, 20 yards to the edge just outside those trees there next to the bait just to skin it out because it was
to have some space.
It was late.
It's a tight area.
Yeah, it's a super tight bait, and we had bears coming in round the clock, and we had a grizzly bear really close to there, and there were other black bears that had come in before and afterwards and that were hanging around, and so I said, let's just move it like 20 yards out into the open, that way we can have at least some more visibility. And it took us, no small amount of effort of heaving and hoeing to get this bear out there. By the time we did, I was tired of moving it. But this one is the biggest black bear that I've shot. That one hanging up on the wall there was just a few inches shy of 7 foot. And that one I shot 2 years ago with my bow. And then a couple of years before that, I shot a 6'6" or 6'7" bear. And so each of my last archery bears has been successively better personal records. And so now I'm really afraid that this year...
You're just going to have to set your sights on a 6-footer. And
this year I'm probably just going to have to settle for the fact that I'm not shooting anything bigger than this.
Just be happy. And that's what I mean, same for me.
Oh, yeah.
I just got to be happy and shoot the biggest bear that's on the bait when I'm there. And that's that.
You kind of have to accept the reality that neither of us may ever shoot a bigger interior black bear than the ones that we shot last spring.
Yeah.
That was how good these bears are. But, every once in a while I see pictures of somebody in the interior with like a, 7'8" or whatever size
It's
black
something
bear.
insane, yeah.
But I don't know. I've never seen one that big. Anyway. Yeah, so that's kind of a bear baiting background, I suppose.
Yeah, very good one. I'll say that big, speaking of bear size and weight,
Mm-hmm.
that one that I shot on my dad's bait, that big, fat, 6 foot.
Yeah.
That was 6'6".
Yeah, that was 6.5.
Which at the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, we're talking about 7-foot bears and how big that is. But at the time, that was the biggest bear. I mean, that I had ever shot by a lot. 6'6". It was nose to tail 6'6" and toe to toe 6'6". It was very dimensional like that, which most of them aren't.
Yeah.
And the at that time, that was bigger than any bear my dad had shot.
Oh, really?
Yes, that
No
was
kidding.
bigger than a black bear that he had shot.
Huh.
Being 6'6", and then I think the next year he shot a 6'7".
Yeah, he killed that really big black one.
That was it. I think that was at 6'7".
Big jet black one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big bear too.
And then didn't he shoot an even bigger one the next year or something like that? Didn't he shoot was like a 6'10" or something?
I think Randy killed that one.
Or was it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Randy shot some big bears.
His big one a couple of years later.
Yeah. But anyway, so that 6'6", the two of us with that bear gutted had a really hard time picking it up and getting it on.
You
on
and
the
I
lure.
could barely get it up on the front.
Yeah, so
of the four-wheeler.
that would be 300 pounds for the two of us to barely be able to pick it up. I mean, I know what I we were teenagers, but
I was going to say we're both pretty skinny little
that's
teenagers
true.
at that
That's
point.
true. Because 150, 200 pounds at work, what's the big deal? But,
in reality, it was probably about 225, maybe 250.
Yeah, somewhere in that range at least.
But it was definitely
it was a big bear for the area, for interior.
And that was a color phase too.
Nice chocolate. Yeah.
That is by far. Well, you know what? It might be my second favorite kill shot video of all time now.
Yeah. Well, you've talked about this one on the show.
Yeah, I mentioned it about hour 3 of the episode with Brad.
Was it hour 3? I mean, you went through it pretty detailed in that episode, I thought.
Yeah. This one was being a little bit cantankerous. And actually, every bear at this bait last year was being kind of a problem. Everyone seemed to come up right next to the stand, try to come up the stand, stick their head on the, right next to your feet, look at you, pop their jaws, looking down the barrel of my handgun as I'm waiting for them to just swat me out of the tree or something ridiculous, which I found out, I think I found out why that was happening.
Why is that?
I don't think I'm going to say it as fact on the show, but I think I know exactly what was happening there. I'm going to have to tell you off air. I'm sorry to leave everybody hanging, but it was one of the...
Let your imaginations run wild.
It was one of the popular myths about bears.
Not so myth.
Well...
Potentially.
After doing a little bit of homework and asking somebody a couple of questions about it,
okay.
I think
I kind of wondered
that.
I kind of have wondered that.
Mm-hmm.
Most people know what we're talking about by now, but we can leave them guessing.
Yeah. If you know, then
you know.
Then you know. If you don't, then you probably shouldn't yet. There you go. I just gave the biggest hint I'm going to give. Anyway, on top of all that, the rut was going on. Boars were coming in with sows. There was one particular sow that was it had to have been her first year coming into heat because she was super small. And she came in 2 separate weekends with us in the stand with different boars. So, I mean, she was a hot sow, and whatever biggest guy on the block was teamed up with her.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were a couple other sows that were coming through too, but they were a little older, a little more cagey. And, that spot doesn't seem to have a lot of pressure necessarily. And that's something that dealing with bear baiting in Alaska is there are areas.
Is a major issue. Yeah.
Even in Alaska, it might seem like, well, you guys have the ultimate bear baiting state, which I think we do.
We do.
But not to say that we don't have to deal with pressure. And every once in a while having, apparently either uneducated or willingly brainless people that want to set up a bear bait 400 yards away from where you already have one. And those people usually are met with a very kind, gentlemanly conversation of,
yes.
Hey, can you please move?
Yes.
This ain't
the first conversation.
this ain't Kansas, buddy. You know, this is not the deer stand plot. You got to move on down the road a little ways. Give us a couple of miles here at least.
Yeah.
Because these bears have come a long ways to a bear bait, and their range is not. I mean, it's not huge. So a few miles goes a long ways in June for bear baiting separation. But anyway, we do have to deal with some of that stuff up here. And so finding a good bait where bears just act naturally is always so much fun, you know, because when you have an area where they get hunted and they're used to being hunted and they're used to the idea of a bait, man, they're just smart. They're educated. They know the drill. They come in. If they smell you, I've had them just walk away. They don't even bother coming to the bait, and they'll go down to the next bait. And if the other hunter's not there, then they'll go to that bait.
Right.
And they'll learn to play that game.
Biggest key, it seems to be finding a way to get alone, which seems almost impossible sometimes. But
yeah, if you can figure out how to be by yourself and still have bears, then hunt there.
And that's really the key. I mean, you can do it with other people around.
Yep.
It's just a lot more of a battle.
Yeah. A lot more of a toss up.
And sometimes sometimes that's all you can afford.
Yep.
Gas and time wise. But
and for that purpose, I mean, I would still advise someone, if you're just looking to get into it, just pick a spot and go.
Yeah. And try to scout the area.
Yep.
And try to find yourself minimum of a mile.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if your terrain's good, then a mile's a lot. You know, if you got a hill between you or something, sometimes you won't share bears.
Yeah.
Sometimes
we've had that happen
will.
before. Yeah.
We've had hills and rivers in between baits and had bears, the same bears on that too.
Yeah,
so
like 5 miles apart.
Exactly.
In the same 12-hour period.
With a river in multiple hills.
Yeah.
And not small hills. Not big, but not small.
Mm-hmm.
Medium.
Yeah, it just seems very individual, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, certain bears just like to walk more, I suppose.
You think grizzlies travel more?
I think so.
Seems to be that's what I see shared the most.
And it seems to me like the more baits that I've dealt with grizzly bears on, especially in the last few years where I've had more of them, is that they don't stick around very long.
As much, for sure.
They come in for a few days and they leave.
Yeah. And they might come back a couple weeks later,
mm-hmm.
but they're not necessarily going to be on a pattern every night.
Not like a hungry black bear will.
Yeah.
Where you can just about set your watch.
By when they show up.
It seems like by when the black bear is going to show up, especially if he's been hitting for a week. At the same time, man, you need to be there when the trail camera says he's been there.
Right.
Because he's usually going to show up again that night at the exact same time, within a half hour, it seems like. But yeah, grizzly bears are a little bit different. Actually, last year, while I was sitting there before I shot this one, that night, there was a grizzly bear that had been hitting that bait for the last 2 days.
That's right.
And it was a decent-sized grizzly bear. And I was up to shoot. My wife had shot her color phase hanging there the previous week. And so I was up to shoot with my bow. And we got in there, and I saw the big black bear that I ended up shooting. And I saw the grizzly bear, and there was a bunch of other smaller bears. And I said, well, you know, if I'm going to shoot a black bear, it's going to be this one because he looks really big. And I'd rather shoot this grizzly bear because this looks like a decent bear. You know, he's got really good hair anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to shoot a grizzly with my bow. And that grizzly bear had been coming in between 11:30 and 12:30 the last 2 nights in a row. And before and after he was in there, this big black bear was in there. And there was even one set where the camera had taken a picture, 2 pictures, in like a little burst, where one frame, it was the grizzly bear, and the next frame, it was the black bear. Or maybe I have that backwards. It was the black bear, and the grizzly bear was running into the frame, or through the picture, as the black bear was getting out of there. And this black bear had a bunch of scuff marks and looked like he'd been bit a few times. So I think that he was contending with that grizzly bear back and forth, and they were scrapping. I don't think that grizzly bear was particularly a giant bear, especially comparing the trail camera pictures between the two of them with that little barricade I've got built up by the bait there of down logs. So the grizzly bear might have only been, I don't know, high 7 foot, somewhere around there, pretty average. But it wasn't a giant, and this black bear knew it. And he was he was testing his luck with that grizzly bear. Well, as I was sitting in there, I think it was about 11:45 or so, I heard a loud snap, which is, what you hear a lot of times when a bear is coming in. And I'm thinking, okay, I hope this is this grizzly bear. And then I heard a lot of crashing, and I heard a lot of snapping and breaking, like stuff was rolling around. And it was a couple hundred yards, well, maybe 100 yards or 200 yards away. And then it all stopped, and then it started again. And then I heard some growls. My wife and I are in the stand just looking at each other like, what is going on here? And by the way, as soon as that had started, there was another tiny little color phase bear sitting on the bait, eating and doing this number, looking over his shoulder after every bite, and looking around.
Just getting food while
And as soon as that kapow, as soon as that first snap went off, he just booked it and ran away. So another bear is coming in. Well, at the end of all that scuffling, we heard a couple of snarls and growls, and then we heard this moaning. And so I pulled out my phone and I got it on video. I got the audio on there. I'm 90+% sure that was a moose calf that he had killed, that grizzly bear had whacked on his way into the bait, which is a huge bummer because it seems like he was on his way into the bait.
Right.
I don't know what else it would have been, because about 20 minutes later, this big black bear came in from the opposite direction and came right in, walked right past the stand, looked up at me, and then walked into the bait. And I recognized him right away, like, whoa, that's the big one. And I shot him while he was laying down kind of facing away, and I broke the offside leg. He jumped up, and instead of running away like most black bears would, he turned around and squared off to the stand and was looking around, and then looked up at us and locked on to me. And then he laid his ears back and kind of, and then he started to take a step, and he stopped. And so I'd already had another arrow nocked, drawn, and at that point, I moved the pin from his chest to his forehead, shot him in the forehead. And so that's why
there's a hole in his head.
That's why this fits right here. Kind of angled through the forehead there. If you're watching the podcast on video, then you can see this skull and broadhead, and it went through at an angle about like that. I don't know quite how it made it through there, because you can see it doesn't seem like it should fit through there.
Yeah, but this would have been a lot softer tissue, right?
Yeah, well, and you can see a blade mark right through there that kind of got sealed off when your dad was doing the skull.
Skull isn't always, or bone isn't always completely hard when it's still got blood flowing through it. So
anyway, but that's where the broadhead went through, and then it came out the back of the brainstem. You can see the two blade cut marks right there through the back of the brainstem. Right. And I found the arrow shaft still in the spinal column, and I pulled the broadhead out of it. A lot of times I would just resharpen the broadhead and shoot it again, but I'm not doing that with this one. This is probably something that I'm never going to do again.
Go back up with that skull there. There you go. Oh, back up a little more.
Yeah, I can't see what I'm doing here. There we go. But yeah, so that was, it's kind of going to fall a little bit there, yeah. So that was the story of the archery headshot bear. I really don't want to do it again, but
now you know it works.
It was kind of fun.
Yeah, see, you don't need a rifle and go walking into a bear bait.
Just walk in at full draw. Hey, bear.
I mean, I've walked into baits with only a bow.
Have you?
Yeah.
What do you usually carry for a handgun at your bear baits?
10 mil these days.
You got that X10, do you?
Yeah, that's the X10. I carried what did I carry last year? I bought the X10 at the end of the season, so I carried it for a couple times.
Oh, that's right. Yep, you bought that pre-fall season.
I bought it like at the end, at like Father's Day or something. Yeah, because it was on sale on Father's Day. That's right.
Yeah. You didn't have it 4th of July. We were shooting one of your other ones on 4th of July. Did you?
Yeah, you shot it.
When's Father's Day?
I should know this.
It's in June, isn't it?
Probably. Yeah. It would make sense, because I don't believe I had it when I shot. Well, and I was carrying a rifle, so I wasn't carrying a pistol.
Right.
Though I was on that bait you shot this bear on a few times. And when I went into that one, I was carrying my 9, one of my 9s most of the time, just a SIG 320.
Yeah.
That just no frills 320 because it was nothing to go wrong. But
Well, and it's super handy with a 320 because it might just go off randomly and kill a bear for you.
right, yeah. It's like drop the gun unless it's a SIG 320, then set it down very carefully. Yes. Oh, I like my 320s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has it shot you in the leg yet? Has it, Barney?
Well, none of them have. I keep the bullet in my pocket.
I was just going to say, do you got to keep the magazine in your pocket?
No, you know what? I carried the first 320 I bought. I carried it appendix carry around in the chamber for a while. Never an issue.
You're just a gambling man, aren't you?
Well, it's a newer one, and it's
Yeah.
It's one of the newer ones that nobody's been able to. From what I understand, nobody's actually had an issue with. It's the older ones that everybody's had issues with. So
Interesting. You used to carry an old Judge, didn't you?
Ooh, that was a long time ago. That was my dad's pistol.
When you and I started hunting together, you were carrying.
I was carrying that Judge, and it was I would either carry it with loaded with 45 Colt, or with, which is a good round. I like that. Or with it would shoot 410, and I was carrying triple out buck, I believe, at the time, which is a pretty nasty load.
You don't want to get peppered in the face if you're.
It's not pepper.
Well,
it's more like 300 grain bullets.
Yeah,
moving 2,000 feet per second. I mean, it's not.
Is it that fast? Really?
It's pretty fast. Man. It's been a while since I looked up what 410 triple out buck looks like, but
I've seen some new stuff from Taurus. What is their new line called?
I don't even know. I haven't looked at Taurus for forever.
They've been doing some pretty good things lately. I've been seeing.
If I wouldn't buy an original Judge like that again.
Mm-hmm.
If I was going to get another revolver specifically from Taurus, I'd probably buy the newer Raging Judge. At least that was the newer one for a while there, which is a 454 Casull. And I think it might also do the 410.
I'm not super familiar with the Judge.
And I don't remember what all the Raging Judge could shoot.
I know they have like the Raging Hunter and the Raging Bull.
That was the one at the time.
Yeah. I don't know. But I do know that they have a new, like, it's like a higher quality model available of a lot of their handguns.
So it's 45 Colt, 410, and 454 Casull, which is a nice selection of.
And they have
cartridges.
5 and 6 shots. Options.
Yeah.
So go to Taurus's website. I'm really curious what their line is called, because they have this relatively new line of pistols that uses a little bit higher materials. It seems like.
Oh yeah, they've got the Judge Toro.
Comes with an optic on it.
Oh yeah, with a red dot on it. Oh, it's a Hollison. Oh, whoa. 13-inch barrel on that one. I mean, that's one to shoot a bear with, just to do it. That's just to shoot everything up here with.
Carry that in the shoulder holster in Walmart.
So none of these are the ones that I even that came up there. Judge Public Defender, 2.5-inch barrel. Polymer. Oh my goodness, no thank you.
Whoa.
Ouch.
I remember shooting the 410 out of yours, or out of your dad's, with the triple aught buck. Mm-hmm. I remember thinking, man, that's a snappy little round.
I think that only had like a 3-inch barrel. It was something like this one right
like
here.
That one, yeah.
Yeah.
Real short one. So go up. Oh, it's executive grade. That's what it's called. Click on their executive grade line.
Oh, those look fancy.
Yeah.
Oh, they've got
the 692, 605, 856, and Judge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those look pretty nice.
Oh, there's a 6.5-inch.
Yeah.
They've got that long chamber though, which really makes them long anyway, because they're they fit the 410.
Right.
Which is just a cool. I mean, being able to shoot triple aught buck is triple aught buck is a heavy. So it's a 5-round, 45 410. So it's just a much nicer.
Mm-hmm. Stainless.
Nice
wood grip.
Mm-hmm.
Wood handle. That's a slick looking pistol.
MSRP $946.99.
Mm-hmm. more up there with like a Smith & Wesson price
Yeah.
range.
Yeah, I mean, it looks more built like a Smith & Wesson too. Just the lines on
The
it.
presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Field Ethos.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, they've talked about
Oh,
the
there's so
executive
Raging
line a few
Hunter.
times.
So maybe they don't make the Raging Judge anymore.
Yeah.
Who's the Raging Hunter? Oh,
I don't think that's in 410 options at all.
the Raging Hunter?
Yeah.
I think it is.
I'm going to bet not.
Well, how much you gonna bet while we wait for your slow internet to load?
$50.
Not worth it. All right, 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum.
460 Smith. Yeah. You just look at the cylinders. None of them.
None of them are long.
No.
I got some long barrels on some of these.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of them have pick rail attachments for
scopes. Yeah,
scout type scopes.
The Raging Hunter 44 mag.
Well, anyway, not to get off on a web search tangent. Anyway, so you started out carrying the Judge. Never had to shoot anything with it, though?
Nope, never shot anything, but I think I shot some squirrels with some bird shot.
I was going to say, we smashed some squirrels with that 410. I think we carried an extra pocket full of bird shot.
I think I did, yeah.
For it. Yeah.
I don't see that 454 Judge anymore. That's the one I was interested in. I know they made it, but maybe they don't make it anymore. Anyway.
And then you switched over to carrying a 10mm now.
I carried a 45 after that for a while.
Oh, that's right.
Carried a 1911.
Yeah, 1911.
Stayed 1911 45.
What bullets did you carry in that 1911?
Oh, whatever.
Was it buffalo bore?
Nope, never carried buffalo bore in it. I just carried a nickel-plated flat nose FMJ.
Okay.
That was my primary. I had a 10-round mag, extended mag for it, and like a Wilson Combat or something. And carried that mostly I carried it mostly side holster. One year I did the strap under the harness thing.
Like a Rasco type of holster.
Yeah, the Rasco holster, which that was way too heavy of a gun for that.
Yeah.
I could see like a 9mm being carried there being great. I think I even carried a 9mm there at one point on the Rasco setup. But like I do like that Rasco setup for some things. But 10mm now, I carried it on the hip last year. I'll probably try the drop leg baiting this year. I like that a lot. In the mountains last year, so
I mean, bear baiting, you're never having to put on or off rain pants.
Yeah, and it's more out of the way and
right.
Yeah.
I've never felt like a chest holster is invasive for bear baiting, but I always take it off when I get in the stand, though.
Well, my problem with the chest holster is I've just gotten really used to that chest rig I wear. The one that First Light makes, and it's just a zipper.
Oh,
pouch.
The FHF one.
Yeah. I said First Light. Yeah, FHF Meat Eater. And it's got all the pockets in.
That's right. You carry that one bear baiting.
I wear that bear baiting, and it's sweet. It's like a vinyl harness, but a lot lighter, depending on how much stuff you put in it.
That's like a fanny pack for your chest.
Yeah, my wife calls it a fanny pack. Yeah.
Does she really?
Oh yeah. Or my purse. Yeah.
Your satchel.
Well, I had my vinyl harness called a binocular purse in guide camp there last fall. So
yeah. I think everybody did.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Well,
but I like that.
I was just going to say, you can't argue with that guy when he's killed more animals than any other two guys there combined.
Probably, yeah. He's killed a lot of stuff. And he's been on a lot of kills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all around the world.
Anyway.
But I like that chest rig because it's a zipper top. Thing's got two zippers.
Right? And that's just like a big rectangular pouch.
It's rounded on the top. It's somewhat shaped and formed, so it doesn't like scrunch up too much or anything like some of them do.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of people make chest rigs. Yeah, it has pockets on the inside. You can add pockets. It's got Velcro all over the inside, so you can buy more stuff from to put whatever you want in there. Okay. They even make like a little bino bucket, so you can put a small pair of binoculars in it. I thought about doing that. Might be nice to have. Mm-hmm. Some of the fields and stuff I ride through to some of my baits.
Over the fields and through the woods?
Yeah.
Does it have molly on it?
Yes.
It does.
Yeah. So you can strap stuff to the front of it. Yeah.
Bottom?
The front of it's got molly, and the bottom of it, I believe, does too.
The bottom might be nice for molly if you wanted to attach a can of bear spray.
Yeah.
To it.
Clay Newcomb carries one like that.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That wouldn't be bad. Like I've always thought I wouldn't mind carrying a can of bear spray if I had the right setup to have it out of the way,
Right.
but quickly accessible.
Right.
I don't like too much stuff on my belt line because I'm carrying in the pack frame with dog food.
Right.
on
Well,
it.
that's why I like the drop leg for the pistol,
Mhm.
which gets it off my chest. It's not
Right.
on my belt. And then I like that chest rig because I put my SD cards in there. I put my SD card adapters in there. I can stick my phone in there quickly and quietly.
Right.
I keep snacks in there. I keep battery, whatever I need that's small and not too heavy. I keep it in there. My tags, my wallet. Also, a lot of times I'll stick anything that's in my pockets in there, so I'm not in the tree stand doing the lean back trying to
Right.
pull stuff out. And I don't have to reach around to my pack that's hanging on the tree next to me to
Yeah.
get stuff out of it and make noise. Too much.
Mhm.
Obviously, some things are bigger. Like sometimes that's the only place to put a book, but depending on how big the book is. But I read a 800-page book in the stand last year.
And still managed to kill two
Bears.
of the bigger bears that you ever killed.
Yeah. I love
Some
reading in the
people are
stand.
just that good, man.
I love reading in the stand. Hey,
Yeah.
It took me years. I went like 5-6 years without killing a bear, so I earned it.
You did. Yeah, I like to read in the bear stand in the spring for sure. I get a lot of reading in the spring.
You got to read another one of those Jack Carr books this
I
spring.
do need to do that. Yes.
You need me to buy you another one?
No, I think
Okay.
I'm going to buy a few of them.
Okay.
I'm probably going to get another one before.
You got to get the matching stack so they're the same height. and
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm probably not that kind of guy.
Oh, okay.
No.
All right.
I like them, but not like that. I'll probably get another one to start when I go out spring guiding.
I think True Believer is the next one for you there.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. That's what they're working on the next shoot for the show. So Yeah.
Anyway, so we kind of got off on
Mhm.
chest purses
It's-
there and all that, but so handgun, you prefer the 10 millimeter,
Mhm.
that SIG X10. How many rounds do you think you have through that gun at this point?
Not a lot.
Yeah.
Not too many.
No,
100, 1 or 200.
No failures.
Nothing that caused me concern.
Yeah,
There may have been an issue or two that I had, but it wasn't like something I attributed to the gun.
like a break-in or something.
Yeah. The first few mags, I think maybe I had an issue or two, but that gun seems that's kind of prone to that. You guys just got to shoot a few mags and it kind of smooths out. And
I think I've heard that somewhere else.
probably watching YouTube videos about 10 mils.
Probably Chad.
Chad.
Yeah. 3 of 7.
Oh,
I think he had that exact issue, as a matter of fact.
was that the video where he said he was really trying to like his
Yeah.
thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and he was shooting the cheapest ammo he could buy.
I think they sent him the exact same pistol that you have.
Yeah.
I think
he
I
did,
might have even sent you that video.
Yeah, I think I think I saw that one when it came out, but
Yeah.
So I watched it before I bought it. I watched a bunch of videos on it because I wanted that pistol for a while,
Mhm.
the X10, and the fancier model I bought, I just got because I found it on sale on the right day, whatever. But
Mhm.
I watched a ton of videos on it, and there are some guys having specific issues with this ammo, or with or somebody was just shooting the cheapest like arms core garbage they could find or blazer or whatever. And, oh man, it's jamming. Like, okay, well, I realize your Glock will shoot anything you put through it, but 10 mils are just pickier. Watch a video on any 10 mil, especially a bunch of them, and it seems like every single one of them is a little picky in some respect about what they'll shoot.
Interesting.
A lot of the Buffalo bore doesn't shoot well through 10 mils.
Really?
A lot of especially the SIG X10 doesn't shoot a lot of the Buffalo bore well and has issues with it. I'll shoot the what's the gray box? The
Underwood?
I'll shoot the Underwoods, no issues. But the
That's
Buffalo
what I
bore,
shoot out of mine with the extreme penetrators.
But that's what I'd seen about the X. You've got the XD,
Yeah. I've got the
XDM
XDM Elite. Yeah, 4.5 inch barrel.
yeah, which I think it's very popular because it's good price.
Yeah, I think
It's comfortable.
I think I saw one in
It's not
Frontier
heavy.
today, and it was like $680.
Yeah. Yeah, and they go on sale all the time with extra mags.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I didn't even pay that much for mine a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And I've got several hundred rounds through mine, and I've never had
Well, I was very familiar
never had a malfunction
with the 320.
Yeah.
Right. And I love the trigger on that X10. It's got, if you go over to Sportsman's and talk to,
Yeah.
I don't remember his name right now, but he was just like, I was talking to him about the 10 mils and, long before I bought one.
Thomas?
No.
Rob?
Wasn't Thomas. Maybe. No, not Rob. No, he's former police. I don't know if he was trooper, but
Oh.
anyway.
Anyway.
He was saying he had to carry He said he hated Glocks and he had to carry a Glock on when he was on the force. Anyway, he was like, hey, everybody loves this one. This is the good point about this one. This is this one, Like, he just gave me his, which I like that, instead of somebody trying to sell me on a SIG, right? Like, or on a Glock or on a Springfield or whatever.
Right.
Or M&P's got one now, right?
Yeah, I think they do.
Anyway, and I held a lot of them. I don't know if I'd shot yours before I bought one, but I'd held XDMs, and I'd held the SIG, and I'd held the Glocks, and the SIG fit my hand nice, and definitely had the nicest trigger of anything. Just about the nicest trigger of any 10 mil on the market, probably in the striker fire world, anyway.
Yeah, it seems like a really nice pistol.
But
yeah, I don't know. I haven't had any issues with my XDM, and
those are super popular.
I have shot a pile of squirrels with them. I'll tell you that.
Probably recommend it to most people, honestly, who are looking at 10 mils, because
yeah,
unless you're a Glock guy or a SIG guy, then just buy the Springfield.
Yeah. Well, I mean, tying this into bear baiting,
right?
Having a handgun in the tree stand, especially, is, in my mind, especially with me bow hunting from a bait, which is usually what I do these days for the last few years.
So you've been carrying a handgun and a rifle and a bow?
Usually.
Interesting.
Yep. I've got that Gunfighters Inc. Kenai chest holster for my Springfield 10 millimeter that I've had for a handful of years now.
So you go in like loaded for bear.
Yeah. One could say that.
Yeah.
But I've got that on a chest rig, which, again, I've never felt was in the way of my pack frame at all. And I go in wearing something pretty thin. I'm not wearing much clothes hiking into a bear bait.
No.
I mean, it's a thin sun shirt soaked in,
bug dope.
60% DEET bug dope. If I can find 100%, then I'm wearing that. And then, just a thin pair of summer pants, something light. And I've got that chest rig on, and then, I've usually got a rifle in my right hand and a bow in my left. Because if I have to go track a wounded bear, I want a rifle. If I blow a shot, I want a rifle for picking up the blood trail. I don't want to have to go all the way back out the trail, go to the vehicle or the four-wheeler and grab a rifle and then come back just to pick up a blood trail. I'd rather have a rifle there.
Yeah. Now, you haven't gone in solo on a bait for quite a while either, huh?
Yeah, here and there, but I've usually usually it's my wife.
Right.
By the time I get home from guiding, she and I bait together a lot. But I've gone out with a few different friends here and there, but I mean, it just makes it so much easier with the amount of work that goes into it. Hiking as far as my baits are, it's just a lot easier when you can go in with two people in one trip, bring in bait and gear for the night, and you're done. And you can just walk in one time, dump whatever bait you're going to put in there, freshen up the scent. Somebody is climbing up in the tree stands, hauling up gear. Other person is dumping bait, spraying scent, and grabbing the SD card, and then following them right up the stand. And so, it's just kind of a good system. And like I said, a lot of the times it's my wife that's with me. She comes along with me when I get home from guiding. But I do like having a rifle.
Yeah.
There's just an element of safety there, I think, that I prefer having a rifle to not.
Yeah. If I was on a bait with big grizzlies, I would probably carry a rifle. Period. Not having big grizzlies, black bears can be more cantankerous. Maybe hopefully it won't be to my detriment one day. I've just gotten really comfortable around bears.
Yeah. Well, and if you have a proven handgun platform.
Yeah, I have a handgun that I like, and it's known 10 mils, there's a lot of stories these days about 10 mils taking out problem bears when.
Well, and that's something else
when
too.
That's what it comes down to.
That's something else that I would caveat this with is we don't carry a handgun to flatten a charging bear.
No.
If that was the case, then we would both be carrying 500 Smith & Wessons or, BFR 4570
something
revolvers.
Fast, yeah. But, at that point, I'm just going to carry a rifle.
Something huge, right? But you get the point.
Yeah.
I'm being sarcastic.
No,
yeah. But the point of a 10 millimeter is that it's manageable enough and it comes in a familiar platform. as to what we're used to carrying for like a 9mm everyday
Right,
carry
that's it.
pistol.
It's very similar to my 320. It's a little heavier. It's got a bigger,
And
more of a kick.
Yeah, it's faster for you and I to shoot it because we shoot a lot more automatic pistols than we do revolvers. I don't know anybody personally that practices enough with a revolver to actually say that they are competent.
Some would say,
with it.
and I would even argue, a revolver doesn't require as much practice. Revolvers are easier to shoot accurately.
I would call on that though.
And I say that because it takes a lot more work with a automatic of any kind to consistently make good groups. A revolver is much easier for somebody who doesn't shoot to make good groups, especially a single action, a double action.
Yeah, but there's my problem with it. I don't carry a 10mm because it's got a 15-round magazine.
Right.
I switched to carrying a 10mm from a 44 because I'm more accurate, faster with it.
Right. Oh no, I 100% with that.
And by faster, I don't mean shots 1 through 15.
I just mean if all you're going to do is go buy a revolver, shoot a box of ammo through it, and then start carrying it, then buy a revolver.
Right.
Now, if you're used to shooting an automatic, because even if you don't shoot one every weekend, you did at one point, or you shoot every once in a while, and you're fairly proficient with a 9mm or whatever, then go buy the closest 10mm you can to it that feels the most comfortable, and that's part of the reason I bought the X10.
Yeah.
Right. And I would have bought a Walther 10mm probably, but they don't make one.
Yeah. But to me, it's about the speed and accuracy combined of shot one. Because we've both heard the stories. If you can hit a bear with a decent bullet and even a 9mm, if you can hit the stupid thing in a central mass spot, your chances of not getting bit go way up.
Chances not getting, just chances of survival, because it throws their concentration off for a second.
Right. It's not about you're going to hit a black bear on the charge with a 10mm pistol with a 180 grain or a 200 grain or a 220 grain bullet, and it's just going to flatten it.
Right.
It's probably not going to happen unless you hit it dead in the spine or in the brain.
Yeah, it might, but
I don't think that would happen.
You're not going to plan on it for sure.
No, but it's about you're diverting it.
Yeah,
it's a big boom.
It
inflicts pain.
Gives you a moment to jump out of the way.
It disorients the situation. It throws them off. All of a sudden, they get hit with something, and then as soon as you hit that bear, I mean, obviously, if it's standing there, you keep on pumping lead into that thing, but you're also moving away.
Right.
You know, if you shoot it and it runs 20 yards away and just stands there, you get out of there because you just basically gave it a glorified bee sting. Obviously, it's more than that.
Yeah, and that all depends on how.
But it's a deterrent.
Was it already wounded?
Right.
And if you have 3 seconds to line up and take a really good shot at 20 yards, then maybe you should, and then run. Because if you can, then get one where you know. Right. I think if I could get one that I know
that is a killing shot.
That is a killing shot. If I can get one at 20 yards, ramped up on adrenaline.
Yeah.
It sounds easy until you're standing there.
Right.
With, shaking like a leaf.
Yeah. But point being is that, to me, if you're carrying a revolver, yes, it might be more naturally easy to shoot it well, but I don't care about groups. Being able to just stand there and take your time and cock the hammer and shoot, or even double action. It's about how fast can you clear leather and put one important round, because you might only get one. We've both been bluffed by bears at close range that we've thought retrospectively back to and thought, what if he followed through? What would have happened there?
It's a game. It's a gambling game.
Would I have cleared the holster fast enough to get a shot off?
That's part of why we hunt bears.
Well, exactly it is. But that's what makes me think back to it. Like, for instance, when I carried my 44 in a leather chest holster, which is a nice chest holster, but it's got a leather hammer loop over it. Right. There is no way, if I'm getting charged, I'm going to have the time to one-handed clear that leather loop, grab that gun, pull it out, and make a solid first shot. There's just no way that's enough time.
I will say, when I'm going into the bait with a rifle or with a bow and a pistol, like with your bait on this, where you killed this bear, I would usually go in, bow in one hand, pistol in the other.
Yeah.
Drawn when I get close to the bait, especially on something that tight where I can't see. Right. If it's a bait where 30, 40, 50 yards away, I've got a sight that I can look down and say, okay, looks clear.
Yeah.
I can just be quiet and cautious depending on what's going on.
Right.
Then I may not, but most of the time, go out. I'm going in like this, ready either to drop the bow or to hold it under the arm or whatever I need to do. So yeah, I mean, within less than a second,
right,
and with a 9 like that, and I was carrying, I think, Underwood with that or Extreme Penetrators or something. Yeah, I have a couple rounds on target. And
and when I was carrying that leather chest holster, I would, as I got close to the bait,
you'd unloop it.
I would unloop it. But then, even still, practicing that at the range, putting a paper plate out at 7 yards and trying just that first shot, just grab it as quick as you can, come out and shoot the double action shot. It was not easy to get good with that.
Right.
And I practiced enough, but switching to a semi-automatic pistol in a 10 millimeter to me is just way more natural.
I've got that 357 now. Now a 357 arguably would be a little easier. It's lighter, smaller, to line up faster, shoot faster, less kick, right? All that. But I used to recommend a 357 to people, right?
357 is a fine
because that's what Joe Nava always recommended, right? And for a reason, because he taught thousands, if not tens of thousands of people to shoot. And he saw that what people could handle easily and best and readily and accurately was a revolver. And in the 357, he said, there's no reason to go bigger. And he's right, really. And sure,
well, I mean, 10 millimeter 357.
Oh, right.
You know, it's
very
in the
similar,
same ballpark. Yeah.
Yeah. But, a lot of guys at 454 or 460 or 500 Smith.
Yeah.
And they've got this huge chest holster. And it's like, by the time they get that out, more power to you if that's what you want to carry. But,
and man, I know some people that own 500s and 460s and they don't carry them. It's in their backpack or it's laying in their tent, but they don't carry it when they're out hunting.
That gun, the 500 Smith wasn't designed as a backup gun. Nobody, I don't know, I know there's people, yes, people hunt with it as a backup gun. Foolish, I think. I think that's foolish. I think it's too big, it's too heavy, it takes far too long to get out, to get on target, and you're going to shoot and not be able to see anything. However, a lot of people use that for deer. There's handgun seasons in places and things, and that is their primary. They'll put a scope on it, and they'll go lay in the grass somewhere, and they'll lay prone somewhere and wait for something to walk by and shoot it, and they can shoot 100 yards.
There's guys that have killed like Cape Buffalo and Plains game.
It's great for that, and I think as a primary weapon,
it's kind of fun.
It's great. It's another aspect. It's I'd love to shoot a bear with a 10 mil,
like an 8 or a 10-inch barrel 500 Smith with a little fixed 2.5 power scope.
One that Taurus with a 13-inch barrel.
Yeah. That'd be a lot of fun to do that. Out of a little ground blind.
Put a light on that thing.
Face camo. A light. Light them up.
I guess you're not supposed to hunt with a light, but
no,
it would look cool to have that big long revolver with a light hanging off the bottom of it.
Big Surefire on the end of it.
Yeah, a big X300 on there. Yeah.
Oh, that would be funny. Or just one of those big old, like a big Vision X spot beam on there.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. That'd light them up.
Yeah, I got a Vision X light bar I keep meaning to put on my truck.
Oh, do you?
I'm just not sure which truck I want to put it on. It came off the one that the
How
car
did
that
we
got
go
totaled.
from revolvers versus semi-automatics to truck light bars?
You said Vision X.
We are talented in that way.
We are, yeah. We can really segue.
Easily distractible.
Yeah.
Distractible. It's a new word.
Speaking of segues, have you seen the hovercrafts coming out lately? See what I did there? that was too far.
That joke didn't land.
No, that's because it floats.
Yeah. Which ammo do you carry in your 10 millimeter?
Underwood, 200.
Is it hardcast?
200 grain hardcast. I'm an old hardcast guy. You know that.
You know, sometime we should.
You were telling me you haven't ever killed a bear with a hardcast.
Nope.
Out of a rifle. Yeah.
Nope.
I've shot one with 45-70 with a hardcast.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
yeah, you smoked that one with a hardcast.
It was a small bear, but my goodness, did that. I've never seen anything else quite like that in the way that it was a small bear. So there's a lot that says that.
Well, and you shot it in the face.
Not quite. It was next to the face. I cut its cheek open on the way.
Yeah, you shot it in the face. If you got shot through the cheek, Your
it was more the,
your obituary would read, he got shot in the face.
it was a small little bear. It was a test bear, and it was wounded. And when it stood up after I found it at like 8 yards, I shot it in the face, but through the side of the face. Not really. It didn't hurt the skull or anything at all. I don't think I kept the skull off of that bear. I should have, but it didn't damage the skull at all. It literally just cut the hide on the side of his cheek as it went in, and it went in next to his neck.
Then broke his.
And went all the way through.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Huh.
Never found the bullet. Yeah.
Was that the
I have the
buffalo
hide.
bore stuff?
No, that was HSM.
HSM. That was a 405.
430, I think.
Oh, really?
I think that's what the primary load was, a 430. Yeah. At the
Really?
time, that's what they loaded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Because I had the buffalo bore super heavy.
The buffalo boar got really hard to find, and I stopped bothering with it.
And that was years and years ago. I mean,
the HSM stuff for a while. The HSM stuff was some of the cheapest stuff on the shelf, and also some of the best stuff they had.
Mm-hmm.
It was like $30 a box, which
and again, that was
7 years ago.
Probably 7 or 8 years ago now. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I carried the heaviest buffalo bore stuff that I could find for my first Marlin 4570 that I ended up getting rid of, and now I have the new Ruger Marlin 4570. But I'm shooting, I believe it's a 325 extreme penetrator.
Okay.
It's loaded by Underwood.
Kind of a lightweight extreme penetrator in there.
Yeah, a little bit lighter than a hard cast, but does the same thing in that it'll shoot through and through something, but with those grooves cut in the nose of the bullet, it forces material out 90 degrees from the travel of the wound channel, and so it has a little bit more wounding.
That hard cast just piles everything up on the way through.
Just kind of trash compacts.
And so I mean, it was a small bear, but it flipped that bear over when I shot it.
Yeah,
and I'm not exaggerating at all when I say it flipped the bear over. There was a bear. It was looking at me. I shot it. And it flipped. It just completely somersaulted it over backwards, and it fell down a small cliff that was right behind it. I mean,
I wish we could have videoed that one.
Somebody tried to video it. That other guy that was there.
Oh, really?
So to make the story just a little more understandable here, Pest Bear tracked it 2 hours after a guy shot it in the neck with a bird shot. He said, "Oh, I shot it in the neck with a shotgun, so it must be dead." And there's lots of blood, and there was not a lot of blood. Anyway, after tracking for 2 hours, finally, about to give up, found a couple more spots where he had stepped and walked around a tree, and there he was. I called to the guy I was with, "Hey, get over here," because I had a 4570 and he had a 40. A little different in size there. And I saw how small the bear was and just was like, "Hey, come here." Well, when I yelled, the bear looked at me and finally stood up. Well, I don't know how bad he's wounded or what he's going to do, so I shot it. Well, he on his way over had his phone out videoing, but it was too dark. So all you see is a flash of the muzzle from the 4570, and that was that.
You still have that video?
No, I don't think. I don't know if he even ever sent it to me. He showed it to me, and I was like, "Oh, that's not." It may have been cool to have, but
yeah, that's kind of funny. Pretty Alaskan story, though.
One bear I haven't killed bear baiting, I guess.
Yeah, I would suppose so.
A wound in stock?
Oh, boy, that's a good one. Wound in stock.
Yeah, not ideal, but there you go. Yeah.
Oh, boy. Well,
trying to fix the graphic that goes on that shirt.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. All of a sudden, I have T-shirt ideas. I don't know. I just need a little MP3 recorder that I can just
a little
dictate.
Dictaphone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a T-shirt idea or
Yeah.
book idea. 1 million copies sold. I'm not surprised.
More than the Bible. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
If you don't, then
if you get the reference.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy, how did we get off on that? And so then bow hunting. You think you go back to a bow this year?
I want to. I really want to.
Yeah.
I've killed 7 black bears, which in some ways to me doesn't seem like a lot. In some ways seems like a lot.
So here's a question. Sorry. I think I just cut you off.
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
Go ahead. And
I've killed 7 black bears.
Yeah.
3 of them with a bow. To me, that's a problem. I'm going the wrong direction with my like. To me, bow hunting isn't an end all be all like it is for some folks. Say,
Right.
you know, our buddy Brad, who's been on the show, he's very much a dedicated bow hunter for most things.
Yeah.
And he's basically, if I can do it with a bow, why would I do it with a rifle? My dad's the same way. Right. And I understand that, but I'm less that way. I'm more a bow is another option. It's another level. But part of me for the bears thing too was I hadn't killed one in so long. I just wanted to kill one.
Right.
And so I had killed several with a bow, and it came back to hunting. Hunting, and I finally was like, I'm just going to carry a rifle because I wanted to shoot. And for another thing that I started was reloading, and I wanted to shoot bears with reloads to test reloads and how well they did on real animals and stuff like that. And,
you're shooting those new hammer bullets.
Yeah, shooting those hammers. And so I have a lot of guns I want to shoot a bear on bait with. I also wouldn't mind just tagging another one with a bow just to do it again. At this point, I don't feel like I can say, oh yeah, I'm a bow hunter when I haven't killed anything with a bow in 8 years.
Yeah.
Or whatever it's been.
Yeah.
Maybe it hasn't been 8, 6 or 7. But
yeah. Well, here's another question that kind of goes hand in hand with this whole conversation is bear baiting. Why do you bear bait? Why don't we just hike out in the mountains somewhere like you see on YouTube videos and, go backpack camping and go shoot bears in the mountains?
We're going to get into this now?
Well, I mean, it's why bear baiting?
Why bear baiting?
Just to sum it up in a simple statement. Okay.
Well, it's kind of, if you can find the right spot, it's a sure way to kill some bears. That's a lot of it for me. I know we've talked about and there's a lot of talk about predator management and things, and that's a part of it for sure. But I like to kill bears.
Yeah.
So aside from everything else, I like to kill bears. It's not any less work. In fact, it's a lot more work than spot and stock. Same coworker I was just talking about in the office that I was distracting. He mentioned how I mentioned how I bear bait. He goes, yeah, I've never bear baited. I don't know if I really will. Like I just kind of like. He goes, it just seems, I said, I just said the line, which is once you've done it, you'll never say it's not, once you've done the amount of work it takes to bear bait. And, I don't know. I like to kill bears, and it's kind of a sure way to hopefully have a selection of bears. Yeah. And I could spend just as much time as I do bear baiting, trying to spot and stalk, and have a lot less success.
Yeah. And yeah, there's a lot of money involved in bear baiting between lures and attractants. Right. There's a lot of time commitment. Yeah. I mean, oftentimes you're going out during the work week to resupply the bait and then hunting it most of the weekend.
Yeah. Or if not during the week, I hunted during the week last year, and I probably will this year.
Yep. And it's just time commitment to it and the cost of the food, whatever your bait consists of.
The Red Bull.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to go to work after you shot that bear last night. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But to me, if I had to sum it up, I would agree with what you said 100%. I like to kill bears because it's fun. That's why. Yeah. I don't like the movement in the hunting industry of justification for a particular methodology.
That's a good point.
I like to kill bears over a bear bait because it's fun.
Right.
And my wife and I were talking about this just the other night, and I made the comment, I said, even if the hides were trash and they weren't a salvageable thing, and even if the meat tasted like bad sardines, I would still shoot my tag limit of bears every single year because it's just fun.
It's an absolute blast. And, and having the side effect of, yes, it is good for predator management, for moose population, caribou population, etc.
Absolutely.
And so that is a side benefit that it's not the primary driver behind it.
Right.
If it wasn't so fun, it might be.
Yeah.
To an extent.
It would be an easy way to justify it.
Yeah. Right. But it doesn't need to be justified.
I agree.
They are bears.
Yep.
And
predator management in conservation of moose numbers, especially in some areas, caribou. In some areas, killing grizzly bears helps black bears out.
Yeah.
Because grizzly bears kill black bears. And guess what? Big black bears kill small black bears. So by shooting big black bear boars, saving
You actually balance out the population.
black bear cubs, and you're going to create more bears in the long run.
Right.
So yes, predator management is one of those things. Meat in the freezer.
Oh, yes.
We love eating black bear meat.
I still have black bear left over from last year.
Oh, did you really?
This is the first time
Yeah.
that's ever happened. Like, since I've been married and we've had our own family and everything, like, we're having an animal that I like, because the blacktail's great,
Mm-hmm.
but what's in the freezer, my wife cooks. And so this concept of having a bunch of different meat in the freezer just hasn't really been something we've had a lot of. Whatever's there, she cooks, and it's like, oh, this is the deer. You know, you can tell when it's like she sets it in front, you can smell it, like, oh yeah, you know, or this is the bear. And yeah, but we still have a decent amount of burger and still cuts of meat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's great. But yeah, the meat, I think, is another good benefit where, again, if you said it wasn't as fun, you could still justify it because these reasons are valid enough between predator management, meat supply. We love eating black bear meat.
Beautiful. But yeah, like you say, they do have beautiful hides.
And yeah, they're kind of neat to look at. And behind the camera that the audience can't see is a wall full of hides, mostly bears, mostly black bears of varying colors.
There's a fur bearing.
Yeah, there's a deer and a silver-tip fox and a coyote and a wolf up there too. And I still have 3 more bears at the tannery that are waiting to be done. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's just that much fun. And like you said, people that don't understand it tend to take more of a position of, well, I don't know how I feel about bear baiting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would be like me saying, I don't know how I feel about killing whitetails over a corn feeder. Well, I haven't done it. I don't know.
You used to say that to me too, you know.
I
just,
believe I did.
Yeah, and I was like,
back when I was less informed as a teenager.
And I said, you've never done it. It's more, it's completely different in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But bow hunting whitetail out of a tree stand, is akin to what we have in bow hunting black bears over bait. It's not the same in a lot of ways, but in other ways it is the same.
Yeah, I can see
you don't have the danger aspect with whitetails, but whitetails.
Unless some crackhead walks by.
But if a black bear walks in, into your bait and you accidentally cough, there's a 75% chance you're totally good and a 95% chance 20 minutes you'll be good.
Yeah.
Right? He's going to come back in. He wants that food.
Yeah.
Whitetail, may as well climb down out of the stand and come back the next night, right?
Yeah.
If that's the deer you're hunting,
Yeah.
And sure that he might come back in. There's, I'm not an expert whitetail hunter by any means, but whitetails are just completely different animal. But at the same time, the level of dedication, right? And there's a reason why hunting media in America for so long, right? It's shifted to Western hunting and all this stuff now a lot, but for so long, it was nothing but whitetails.
Dominated by whitetail.
Monster bucks, the Drury brothers, Michael Waddell.
The Realtree Roadshow type stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the stuff that you and I grew up watching.
Yeah, the Eastern hunting. And it's
even though I have never hunted whitetails, that's what I watched.
It was because that's what my dad did growing up, and so he was into it, and so we'd watch it. We watched all the NRA hunting with the Drury's brothers would be on some of the NRA films, and then they had like their hunting and gun DVD that would have a hunting show on it and like a gun documentary.
It was the oddball out for us if we had a hunting video that was about Alaska or Western hunting. Because
we had more of that stuff. My dad did.
Yeah, well, you guys did.
Oh,
but,
okay.
For us growing up where we did, we didn't have a great unlimited supply of, Alaska
My dad had a lot
DVDs
of Africa stuff too.
Yeah, and not to say that we didn't have some of that stuff either, but relatively speaking, in the things that I had as far as, let's just say, for instance, a hunting magazine that we subscribed to when I was a kid, whether it was Fur, Fish, and Game or traditional bow hunter magazine, it seemed like over 90% of all of those articles, all of that media, all of that attention was given to the deer hunting world. That was just what dominated the hunting industry in that sector.
A couple of years ago, I was thinking about whitetail again. Like, this was a lot of fun and stuff. And so I went to listen to Wired to Hunt.
Yeah.
With Mark Kenyon. Thinking, man, and I was listening to it and I was getting excited because it's been years, but I have killed a whitetail with my bow. And I'd hunted several times in several states with my dad and whatnot. Yeah. And I was getting excited, like listening to everything they were talking about, but very quickly, I got burned out on how much those guys just absolutely, which I probably would do the same thing if I lived where they live.
Yeah.
But they just absolutely nerd out about every single little aspect. And I listened to maybe one full show and maybe part of another and was like, okay, I know I'm not going to be whitetail hunting for a while. This is too much. I just can't take it. But one other thing you mentioned, it's expensive, and you mentioned getting out on the weekends and why bear bait is it makes it simpler for somebody, especially in a blue collar 9 to 5, 7 day, 5 day a week job, to get out and have an opportunity to kill a bear. Because many times in where we live, getting to a spot where you can actually find a bear to spot and stalk, you need some time to get there. You need time, and then you need, whether it's walking or driving or whatever it is, or a combination of all of the above, you're taking your full weekend, and you may not even have enough time to actually find a bear.
Right.
And the little bit of spot and stalk hunting we've done together in the interior, taking sometimes 3 days. We've done it a couple times. Usually fall, winter, early winter, fall.
Okay. Yeah.
And, taking even 3 or 4 days and seeing a bear. A lot.
Like, hey, we saw a bear.
Yeah, it was a success.
Yeah.
But it's just sure, maybe in the spring we would have had more luck in that area.
Right.
Probably would have, but you don't necessarily have 3-4 days to, right? Because then you're neglecting your bait if you are bear baiting.
And that's a good example, because the times that we've been doing that was a long time ago when you and I were still on a very steep learning curve of learning about variety and bear hunting in general. And we thought, hey, we'll just go right out to this area and we'll just go spot and stalk bear hunting.
There's a lot of bears there, and there are a lot of bears there.
There are, but they don't live out in the open. And when they do, they're running from one timbered spot to another.
Yeah. And we saw one running on a ridge, and it showed up for a moment, and it disappeared a few seconds later, and that was that.
Yeah.
And we saw a bear.
And we learned real quick that, you know what, this is not what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
That was years ago. Yeah. And now that we've learned more about it, we don't tend to waste our time doing stuff like that.
And we're not saying we won't.
No. But not to say that we won't go out there and just go out there for a good time. And hey, if we see a bear and kill it, then that's great. But
I know if I put the dedication in,
I'm
a lot more likely to kill a bear and see bears. Bear baiting.
Bear bait, yeah. And man, the interior, for those that don't know, the interior around where we live in Fairbanks. It is thick, low country. All around here is just thick, low-lying area. A lot of timber, a lot of brush, a lot of willows. It's moose country. And there's a ton of bears packed in this timber and swamp. I remember the first time that we had grizzly bears smashing a bear bait, and we thought, what are grizzly bears doing living out here in the middle of a swamp? Because it was just wet. Everything was flooded.
We kind of put that bait in the middle of a swamp.
We put it right in the middle of a swamp.
Yeah.
With the only hill that was about 10 feet above swamp level, which is sea level for Fairbanks. And there you go, T-shirt idea.
A lot of moose been killed there.
But I remember, that was part of our conversation, is when we started getting smoked by grizzlies at that bait, and you and I were talking about it, like, what makes these grizzly bears live in this area? And then we looked around and we realized, well, duh, this place is packed with moose.
Yeah.
That's why there's grizzly bears here.
Yeah.
And I don't think we ever had one black bear on that bait.
Not on that bait.
6 miles from there. And it was a big monster. But you have to be big to...
It was fat.
Yeah, to live with the grizzly bears.
And he showed up twice.
Yeah, he wasn't in there very much.
Yeah.
Probably runs a lot.
We also had a big grizzly bear on that bait.
Yeah, we did.
On both of those baits.
Old Samson.
Samson on the one, and then that other one had a big one on it too.
I wonder if he's still alive.
I wondered that too. I've thought about going in there and baiting that bait up just
because.
You
and I were talking about that a couple weeks ago.
And
I wonder if he thinks about us the same way we think about him.
I don't know if he knows we existed. Except for all that good food he ate.
Yeah, I was going to say, he probably remembers all the expensive stuff we brought him. Buckets full of Jell-O and rice. Man, he would just wolf that stuff down. Yeah. Well, man, I think we've about rambled on enough about bear baiting stories.
I think so.
We are thoroughly all keyed up
Yeah.
for spring bear season. Speaking of which, if you are looking for the finest bear bait lures on the landscape, look no further than Beta 907 Attractants and Lures. We're not officially sponsored or partnered by them, but Jess is a longtime friend of ours and has always done us well, and she makes the finest bear bait lures on the market, in my opinion. And we've even had people before that have heard about her stuff. They're in the lower 48, and they're in a state that they can bear bait in, and they order their stuff now from Jess. So do yourself a favor, go on over to beta907.com and get you some lures while the getting's good before bear season kicks off.
You usually see some of her stuff in Sportsman's too.
I don't know that Sportsman's will have it, but the new 3 Bears going up in North Pole will.
Oh, nice. Sportsman's had it last year.
Did they?
Yeah, they had a small selection, but they had three or four items.
That's good. Yeah. I'm a big fan of less is more. Nasty Boar.
Yeah,
Samhain heat estrus. Maybe a little bit of molasses.
I focus.
I'm sorry, not molasses. What's that cookie one? The spray.
To die for?
No.
The cookie one is to die for. Like literally. It smells incredible, and I wish every time I smell it that I had a cookie.
Oh boy. Now I'm spacing out and I can't think of it. Anyway, it's my favorite spray lure. It's the only one that I buy.
Cupcake Addiction?
Yes, Cupcake Addiction spray bottle. That one I really like as a spray.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I mean, Nasty Boar paste or spray, and then Samhain heat estrus gel is awesome. And then she has a powder that you sprinkle on the ground that's called stripper glitter.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings all the boys to the yard. That is a great product for June, that's for sure. Brings them in looking for love.
Yeah, I've always focused on. We used to focus on everything we could have for scent, right? Towards the end of the season, June, when bears are really moving, I focus more on one big something. Yeah. Every time I go in there, I just something new, and maybe I'll freshen up the Nasty Boar and the anise. I always run Nasty Boar and anise. Got some Nasty Boar paste, some anise paste.
Have you stuck with anise the whole time?
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard for me to leave when it's been something I've been using since we used to get in the fishing lures section.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I've replaced anise with at my base?
What's that?
Insane banana paste.
Yeah.
From Jess.
Yeah.
That one smells so sweet it makes your teeth ache just smelling it.
I've thought about buying that some vanilla or some anise extract.
I've done that.
Because that's real strong
at the store,
stuff. Yeah. I just don't know how long it lasts out there.
It doesn't seem to last nearly as long as Jess's stuff does.
Yeah. I usually run, so for me, it's more of a variety of types of scent. So even if it's the same scent, I might run multiple anise.
You know what I still use?
What's that?
Butt juice.
Oh, really?
Remember that stuff?
Yeah.
It's herring oil that's in the fishing lure section of Sportsman's.
Nasty.
Good grief.
I think I used some of that last year too.
Yeah, butt juice, man. I think I bought you a small bottle of it last year. Gave it to you. Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure I did because I saw you on the road at one point and I said,
maybe you did.
Here you go.
See, that's one thing I like about baiting off of a wheeler.
Yeah.
I have a 5-gallon bucket that all my nasty scents and everything are in.
Yeah.
And I've got that bin that has that like farm. It's for like a farm where 5-gallon buckets slips into it. So it just takes a bungee to hold it on there.
Yeah.
And everything goes, all my nasty scents and everything goes in there. I've got a pair of gloves sits on top.
Yeah.
I carry that into the bait, scent everything up, goes back in the bucket, stick it out of the way where a bear can chew on it if it comes in. And I can carry it back to the wheeler, stick it back in that spot. It doesn't get on anything. I don't have to carry it in because I'm backpacking in.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things about.
Yeah.
And I can do a bunch of different nasty stuff.
Yeah.
And not worry about it.
Yeah.
And whereas if I was backpacking in, it would be. There's always that
for sure
that anxiety in the back of your head of what if
everything is in its own little sealed off bag.
Yeah, but what if?
Please don't leak down my back. Yeah, ruin another pair of pants. Yeah, but anyway, Beta 907 is our go-to go-to lure and attractants company. So do yourself and your bears a favor and go buy some lures from her. And yeah, you guys let us know if you have any more questions or specific things that you want to hear more from us about. This was more of like an overview. I know there's a lot more to be said about bear baiting.
Which is the focus of our podcast.
Yeah, for the most part, it's
Yeah.
just hunting stories and whatever gear interests
Yeah.
us at the time of recording.
Before the main season kicks off, we'll probably do like a gear episode or something, maybe.
Yeah.
I'll bring in that chest rig and
Yeah, that would be good to do. Maybe an interim episode in between.
yeah.
Or gear episode
Yeah.
focused. Trail cameras could be in there. SD card readers.
I know I just whatever trail cameras I have at this point. I had all these grand plans last year with trail cameras, and I don't got time for that.
I ended up buying 2 new ones last year.
Yeah, what'd you buy?
We'll save that for a different
All
time.
right,
We'll leave them hanging.
I don't
I'll give
take
you a
care of
hint.
that much.
I'll give you a hint. Starts with Brown, ends with Ing. Anyway. Well, I think we're going to wrap this one up. The next episode that you guys hear is going to be a guest interview. If everything goes right, we'll just leave you hanging here.
A pretty decently high profile guest, you could say.
I would say so.
Yeah.
He's very well known and very well respected
You
across.
sheep hunters out there will really be into this one.
Yeah, the sheep guys are going to love this one. I know we're going to have a good time recording
Yeah,
it with
yeah.
them, but we'll leave you hanging as to who it is. But if you have any questions at the time of this recording, matter of fact, you're not going to have time to answer questions or to submit questions because we're going to record that interview before
Before this one releases.
this one releases. So anyway, sorry to offer that and then take it right away.
Oh well.
But anyway, like I said before on previous episodes, if you guys have suggestions or topic questions, things that you'd like to hear from us about,
Mhm.
stories you'd like to hear, or gear questions, you can write us in at our email, which is
Great Alaska huntingcompany.com. Oh boy, I always mess this up these days, don't I?
You always mess it up. Great Alaska Hunting Company.
No, it's info at greatalaskahuntingcompany.com.
Okay. Or you can go to our website at thegreatalaskahuntingpodcast.com.
greatalaskahuntingcompany.com.
If you search podcast, I'm sure it'll come
It should
up.
come up. But if you go to contact, you can send an email then that way, and then there's the email, info at greatalaskahuntingcompany.com.
Yep. Or you can find us on our Instagram or Facebook profiles. Search our names on there. And we'll get back to you as soon as we possibly can and answer any questions and take suggestions for topics or questions that you guys have for us. But I appreciate the support from both of us. To you guys, thank you. And without any more dragging on or ramblings, we'll just see you in the next one. You guys enjoy your early spring.